Welcome to Beer and Iron, where we talk about real cast iron cooking and share recipes with beer as an ingredient. Grab a beer, set that cast iron on the heat, and prepare to flip your expectations. We're serving up tales and recipes that are well seasoned and never half-baked. I'm Soule, Sultan of Suds and Cast Iron Bard, here to share a story, cook something worth savoring, and turn your plate into a celebration of flavor and folklore. This is where the good stories live. There's a certain kind of silence that only shows up when you're cooking outside. The coals are breathing, the iron is warming, and the lid comes off with a sound that feels older than you are. Not the dinner-ready sound, more like the cook begins. Like the Dutch oven is clearing its throat, about to tell you a story it's been holding on to since before you showed up with the ingredients and your confidence. But sometimes nature swaps a hymn for a laugh track. Wind, it'll shift your heat. Smoke, it'll track you like a horsefly on the south end of a northbound cow that didn't quite get its tail up in time. And if you're filming, oh man, everything you've done 100 times suddenly resets you back to beginner mode. And filming. Can I even call it filming anymore? It's more like surviving with a B-roll. You ever heard someone say,
"If you're gonna laugh about it later, why not laugh about it now?"
These are not my people. There's something about things seemingly going wrong in the here and now that don't seem quite funny. Funny comes later, when the dust settles and your bifocals quit fogging up on you. So this is a story from a Tuesday I had off from work. Mid to late April up in North Idaho. Supposed to be a little cloudy, but warm. Maybe even flirting with the 70s. My wife, she's working from home. And on my day off, I'm feeling dangerous. The productive kind. So I'm heading out to camp to cook and record a recipe I've been working on. New angles and new shots. That's the one thing about a cooking site and a podcast. My readers, listeners, and viewers might be seeing this recipe for the very first time. My wife, she's eaten it 4, 5, maybe 6 times while I dial it in. It's like a new song you can't stop listening to until one day you realize you've listened to it so much you can hear it coming and your soul goes, please, not this one again. You know what I mean. The car is loaded. I've double and triple checked, and before I'm even out of town, I realize I've already forgotten the bell peppers. Should have quadruple checked. No problem. Now I have a planned stop at the market on my way out of town. And on the way to get bell peppers, I have to turn around. Forgot a couple more things. My bowl for the trophy shot. My lid lifter. I should have quintuple checked. My wife has a diagnosis for this. She calls it male pattern forgetfulness. Now that's paired with male pattern blindness.
It's right there, in the cupboard, right in front of you.
And male pattern deafness.
We just talked about that this morning. Where were you?
Back at the market, bell peppers. I need 2, but these are small, so I get 3, because that's my motto. 2 is 1, 1 is none, but 3 for me. I roll into camp. And, doggone it, I forgot my washing water, trash can, chair, and I forgot my camping stool, which means today's kitchen setup is sponsored by Standing and Making It Work. I should have sextuple checked. Sextuple. Wait, what were we talking about? I get the fire going and the briquettes are humming. I start filming the ingredients, little hero shots of each one. Everything laid out dress right dress. I'm feeling dialed in here. In goes the sausage. Beautiful. And then my brain goes, wait, the shot, is it lined up? Is it exposed right? I step behind the camera for what feels like 2 seconds. And that gorgeous sear starts heading toward charcoal souvenir from last night's campfire. You don't realize how fast time moves until you're trying to be the one-person film crew with a protein in the hot pot. I pull it off. Still beautiful. In goes the beef. Beautiful. Both go into the holding pot. And then in with the white onions. And here's where the outdoors get cinematic. It's supposed to be cloudy today, but the sun starts shooting rays through the trees. Listen to me complain about a sunny spring day. Shame on me. But through the camera, those onions look like they're basking in the glory light and glow from heaven above. Too bright to stare at even, while the shadows look like the darkness from the bowels of hell. Easy adjustment, right? Not really. The sunlight moving through those tree boughs is like a moving spotlight through the campsite, making every scene appear to be illuminated by different angles. And you just can't unsaute onions for a second take. Then it's bell pepper time. And I realize I prepped everything at home and packed it into camp, except the bell peppers. Because I bought them on the way in, they're still whole. So now I'm chopping while my briquettes are burning. And then, plop, half of a bell pepper drops right into the dirt. Pick it up and blow it off? The 3-second rule? No way. I'm a nurse. Germs don't carry a stopwatch. And dirt, they don't come with a refund policy. This is a public campsite. Whatever hits the ground in a public campsite has joined the ecosystem. Well, figuratively. I did pick it up and toss it, just not into my pot. And if you're questioning my logic, just remember, Bubba camped here last night. Bubba's the kind of fella who thinks hand sanitizer is government glitter. At 1 a.m., Bubba ain't making the hike up to the vault toilet. Bubba took an open-air shortcut and left a little donation to Mother Nature, and probably right here where my bell pepper landed. So no, I'm not doing the 3-second rule. I'm doing the forever rule. And hey, I ain't talking to you, Mr. Bubba. Just Bubbas we know, right? So instead of 2 peppers, I end up using 2.5. I didn't want to waste the half of the third, so I chopped it in along with the 2 bell peppers my recipe calls for. My viewers, they'll understand. They're forgiving. Now it's time for the tomato paste, sauce and beer. Edges bubbling, ingredients floating. It's starting to look like dinner again. My spirits are lifted and all seems to be well with my world. And then I glance over at the table and see it. The freaking garlic. Still sitting there, untouched, unadded, unloved. Fine, I'll mention it in the voiceover. Did I mention my viewers are forgiving? They are forgiving. I set the lid back on and go back to my notes. I'm a little flustered. And then I realize the meat is still in the holding pot, and my pasta is basically screaming my name from the table. Easy fix. Lift the lid, dump them in, give it a stir, and act like it was always the plan. Hey, I got this. Now for the cobbled topping. I plan on using the expired milk from the fridge, but I forgot it. No worries. Good thing I have a beer. 1 would have been none. I was drinking the 1. 2, that one was in the pot. And 3, yep, that's for the cobbled topping dough. I'm a little sad though. Usually 3's for me. At this point, the recipe is going great. If you ignore the fact that I'm using a half-full bag of charcoal briquettes as my chair, my back is screaming, and the light is still messing with my camera settings. But hey, we're making it happen. A few stirs later and the sauce is ready. I roll out the cobbled topping. Place each piece like I'm on a cooking show, which, hey, yeah, I kinda am. The lid goes back on for the bake, and I start cleaning up after taking a quick sip from my now warm beer. And then, what on God's green earth is that? On the table, the cheese. I forgot the friggin' cheese. Now listen, garlic is forgiven. You can toss garlic in late and pretend it was intentional. But the cheese in this recipe? Cheese is a one-shot deal here, my friends. The cobbled topping is on its way to being well baked. There's no going back. Did I mention my viewers are forgiving? But this is cheese. My viewers might forgive a missing garlic moment, but cheese? Hey, that one felt loud. So I'll make a call. There's a bunch of food in that pot, and it's essentially cooked. The topping is well on its way. I clean up, pack up, and after the cobbled topping was trophy shot baked golden brown, I head home with a pot full of cooked but incomplete cobbler, and the lid was still wearing its coal ash jacket. First thing I do when I get home is get that hot pot on the kitchen stove to cool. Then I step back outside to clean up the rest of my gear. When I come back in the house, my wife is taking a break from her work. She's standing there in the kitchen, holding a bowl of that cobbler. Eyes are closed, chin slightly lifted, standing there right in front of the open Dutch oven, like she's having a special moment, like she checked things 6 times. She notices me there and opens her eyes, and she goes,
What did you do differently this time? This is amazing! Better than the last 6 times you made it. The sauce is perfect.
I went over to the pot and pulled a cobble. The bottom of the bread carried a good amount of that pasta-y thick red sauce with a few chunks of sausage and bell pepper and onion. I took a wide bite, and then my palate too had its own 6th check. This was amazing. Maybe we're both just really hungry, or maybe all my mistakes actually tricked the recipe into being better. I don't know. I grabbed a spoon from the drawer, and I had a few more bites while my wife walked back to her office to finish the day.
It's really good, Sule. Hope the filming went well. Filming. Do we even say that anymore?
And then she walked to her office while taking another bite. I turned back to the pot and looked at what was really a beautiful-looking Dutch oven cobbler. The over-the-stove vent hood warm light really made it glow. I don't really know what happened here. What I do know is what the Dutch oven reminded me of. Something I already knew, but needed a refresher on. Dutch oven cooking is just like my viewers. They are forgiven. It's actually hard to mess up outdoor cooking beyond saving. And I say this with love and affection. I'm not that special. If I can cook in a Dutch oven outside, so can you. So don't apologize for your mistakes. What you think is a mistake might be the very thing that turns your meal into a masterpiece. We don't cook in cast iron outside because it's easy. If we want it easy, we'd grab white bread, mayo, and ham and just call it good. We do this for the experience. And when the experience starts to go sideways, just go with it. The folks you're feeding, they're forgiving. They're your people. So cook, enjoy, and remember, food cooked in camp ain't got no calories. Eat up. Cheers. And if you forget an ingredient, miss a step, drop a pepper in the dirt, that doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're cooking the kind of meal people are going to remember. Next week, I'm sharing a recipe I've been tinkering with, the country cobbler alla Italiana, also known as the Pizza Burger Pasta Cobbler. And yes, that name has a story. A little nostalgia, a little remember when, and, good Lord willing, a whole lot of good eating. But instead of a recipe today, I want to share, briefly, how I heat the camp cast iron Dutch oven. There's a lot of methods out there, and some of them come with charts, rulers, and the kind of confidence that makes me nervous. I'm covering one simple approach today, and I'll bring it back next episode when we cook a full meal in the great big outdoors. I call it the ×2 guideline. And I say guideline on purpose, because outdoor cooking doesn't have many hard rules. Many outdoor chefs have rules, but outdoor cooking, they don't care. Out here, the wind has opinions, the temperature has mood swings, and your charcoal may or may not be made from actual charcoal. Precision is just a cute idea. Most meals bake in a Dutch oven right around 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 175 degrees Celsius. That's the culinary sweet spot. Hot enough to cook, not so hot to turn your dinner into a cautionary tale. For simplicity, let's talk about getting your Dutch oven set up roughly at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. On a future episode, we'll go in deeper on fine-tuning heat, because once you get past the basics, it gets real fun. If you want a deep dive now, check out the show notes for a detailed video. You can also find it at beerandiron.com. Just do a search for the keyword HEATING, heating. And yes, the show notes have it. I'm not going to hide that link like an Easter egg. Dutch ovens come in different sizes. I've got camp cast iron Dutch ovens from 8-inch up to 16 inches. I'm also hunting a 6-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven, but not one so expensive I have to donate a kidney to get it. That's a side quest for another day. For today, let's stick with the most common 3-legged critter, the 12-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven. Here's the math that even I can do without taking my boots off. That 12 is the number we need. Multiply it by 2 and you get 24. That's about how many total charcoal briquettes you will use with a 12-inch camp cast iron Dutch oven to imitate a kitchen oven running about 350 degrees. Emphasis on about. If you want lab conditions, you're going to need a lab. Now think about what's happening to the food in that pot. You've got direct heat and indirect heat working at the same time. Cooking in a camp cast iron Dutch oven is kind of like cooking in an oven, except your stovetop is on the ground and your thermostat is called eyeballing it. Also, the squirrels. Them squirrels may be judging you, not nearby campers. Nearby campers are in awe over your cast iron mojo and Dutch oven wizardry. The food touching the bottom of the pot gets conduction heat. That's direct heat transferred through the iron. Think sautéing, frying, boiling, searing, and occasionally, oops, I got distracted and now it's extra seasoned. The kitchen oven is mostly convection, hot air moving around the food, plus a bit of radiant heat from the hot walls of the oven. Think baking and roasting. More even heat, more gentle heat, and nobody's blowing coal ash in your face mid-preheat. A Dutch oven does both at once. Direct or conduction heat from underneath and indirect heat from the lid as the top coals heat the cast iron and warm the air inside the Dutch oven. And yes, I did just call it gentle heat, didn't I? But the heat coming from that lid is hot enough to brand cattle. So if we want even heat, top and bottom, it makes sense that we need more coals on the lid than underneath the pot, right? Otherwise, the bottom is doing CrossFit while the top is on the sofa. 12 inches times 2 is 24 briquettes. Take 24 briquettes and divide 24 by 3. You get 8. Put 8 under the Dutch oven and put 16 on the lid. And doggone it, you got yourself a setup that'll handle the majority of Dutch oven cooking right there, without needing a spreadsheet. Now, there are a few purists out there who prefer hardwood coals or lump charcoal. Yes, now we're talking. That's the good stuff right there. Y'all are my people. You know you are. That's the I brought my own coffee grinder to the campsite level of commitment. And yeah, I have a coffee grinder that I bring to camp now and again, and you just may see it on future episodes. But in this example, I'm using the standard size charcoal briquettes. Call it the learn to walk before you run approach, grasshopper. First, you need the mental picture of what 16 standard briquettes look like on the top and what 8 look like underneath. Once you've gotten that picture, you'll look at lumpy lump charcoal and go, ah, yes, that pile of prehistoric space rocks equals, well, about 12. Same thing goes for briquettes that are partially burned down. 2 sad little half briquettes can team up and pretend they're one full-size adult briquette. Let them try. Practice makes perfect. The more you do this, the better you're going to get at seeing the heat and looking at your coal setup and thinking, yep, that'll bake. That's the moment you officially become a Dutch oven wizard at campsite 9 3/4. This ×2 guideline works with other sizes too. A 10-inch Dutch oven needs about 20 briquettes. Divided by 3, and yep, you get an oddball number. No worries. This is outdoor cooking. It's forgiving. Go 6 or 7 under the pot, and 13 or 14 on the lid. Heck, go 6 under and 12 on top. That works good too.
But Soulé, that's only 18.
To that I say, so? The forest isn't grading you. Cook on, brother. Bake on, sister. What about a 14-inch? No worries. That's 28 briquettes. Divided by 3, and you get 9 and some change. Stick 9 or 10 under the pot and put the rest on the lid. Easy. Well, easy-ish. You still have to light them. You know where the devil is at, right? Bottom line. Know the total briquette count. Divide by 3. Put that number under the Dutch oven and put the rest on the lid. That's it. That's the sermon. Now go in peace, my brothers and sisters. Now, if I catch you breaking briquettes in halves and thirds to get a perfect number, first, you're going to win my admiration. You will. Second, I'm going to hand you the number to a really good support group. Because, friend, if you're out here doing charcoal fractions, you might also alphabetize your spice rack by emotional trauma. Remember, like my audience, that 3-legged pot is very forgiving. As long as you listen to that 3-legged beauty, you'll be okay. If it smells right, you're right. If it smells wrong, well, congratulations, you're making memories. A good tale to share with your good old buddy Soule here at beerandiron.com. Speaking of 3 legs, I saw a 3-legged chicken the other day. Gospel truth. If I'm lying, I'm dying. It happened up in Moyer Springs, Idaho. Rolling down Roosevelt Road on a late afternoon that smelled like cut hay and hot tar. I was easing up to the corner of Selkirk when something black and white caught my eye. Pecking gravel like it misplaced its dignity and wasn't going home without it. At first I thought it was 2 birds lined up just so, one tailing the other. Then it moved, and my brain did that little stumble where the world rearranges itself. That wasn't 2 chickens, that was one. One chicken with 3 legs. Standing there like a joke the good Lord half finished and decided to leave as an heirloom. Curiosity is a dangerous thing in a small town. I hung a left down Selkirk to get a better look. The chicken saw me and started to put some distance between us. I eased forward. He sped up. I gave it a little gas. He matched me. Before I knew it, I was doing near 30, and that bird was boot-scooting down Selkirk like he was late for Sunday service his whole life and finally decided to make a run for it. He ran me to the dead end. I rolled to a stop like I meant to be there, and that's when the yard opened up to me and the world tilted again. Not 1, not 2, an entire congregation of tripod yardbirds, 20, maybe 30, black, white, and speckled, moving in little triangular patterns as if someone taught them geometry. They scratched and pecked and worked the yard like hired hands. And every time I shifted in my seat, they slid away together, polite and distant, like churchgoers who had been taught to keep their distance from strangers. I killed the engine and sat there for a beat, listening to the car cool and the chickens busy. Then I got out and walked up to the house. A man came up to the door wearing a white tee, jeans, and 1 sock. Just one. His big toe peeking out for God and everybody to see. He squinted at me, all curious-like.
"Can I help you, young fella?"
I didn't know him. Never seen him before in my life. But the way he said young fella hit me like a kindness I hadn't expected. It's the kind of thing you hear only when your knees still believe in you. I pointed to the yard. "Mister, your chickens. They all got 3 legs. He eased out onto the porch, hiked up his britches, and they promptly fell back down, and let out a slow, long sigh.
"Yep, they all got 3 legs."
He either let this hang for me to figure out on my own, or this was the entirety of his explanation. I waited until I was sure he was done explaining. "How in the world did this happen?" I asked. Because there are only so many sensible questions left when the world hands you a scene like this. He leaned on the porch rail like he was about to tell a story he'd been carrying for years.
"Problem was the 4th leg." "Yep."
I blinked. 4th leg? He shook his head and glanced at me sideways like I was the county idiot.
"2 birds usually got 4 legs, huh?"
He looked back over the yard.
"Every time Mama made fried chicken dinner, we'd have to take 2 birds. That'd be 4 legs. And who was going to get that 4th leg? I love a good chicken leg. Mama? She love a good chicken leg. And the boy? Now that one love a good chicken leg. It was that 4th leg. It'd sit there at first. Then it'd turn supper time into a family feud. Family would go to bed mad. Mama wouldn't speak to me. The boy looking at me like I'd gambled off his inheritance. It got real ugly."
There was a pause, the kind that lets you know the rest of the tale is coming.
One night the boy says, "Daddy, I'm gonna fix this." Next thing I know, he's off collecting degrees like baseball cards. Stanford, Berkeley, Harvard, getting himself a doctorate in gene editing.
He was a proud daddy and puffed up a little bit with that.
Took him a few years, but he done it. Came back and made these here 3-legged chickens. 1 bird, 3 legs. Everybody gets their own. No fussin', no fightin', peace in the household.
I stood there, looking at a yard of what might be the most efficient poultry operation ever devised, and felt the small, ridiculous swell of admiration for a family that solved dinner the only way they knew how, by turning a quarrel into a science project. There was only one question left that made sense. So, mister, tell me, how do them chicken legs taste? He looked at me, and then back at the yard, and let a breath out like he'd been holding it for a long time.
Son, heck if I know.
He scratched his chin and watched those feathered track stars tear across the grass.
Dang things are too doggone fast. Ain't caught one yet to find out.
And there you go, the very, very basics of heating a camp cast iron Dutch oven. I'll mention this process during next week's podcast as well. Speaking of the next week's podcast, I'm going to serve up a tale with the two meanings of cobbler, one that fixes shoes and one that feeds your soul. From a childhood misunderstanding at the country cobbler to a camp Dutch oven cobbler alla Italiana recipe, a beer-laced marinara, sausage, pasta, cheese, and a cobbled savory drop dough top. It'll be an episode that's part folklore, part comfort food, and all cast iron. Cobbler for dinner. Are you in? Now, y'all don't be strangers. Let me know how yours turns out at beerandiron.com and join the conversation. Remember, at Beer and Iron, there's always room for one more at our table. Until next time, stay sizzling, keep the tails flowing, and remember, our secret ingredient is a dash of hops and a pinch of sass. Now wait, do I get my man card punched for saying sass? Nah. We'll see you next time on beerandiron.com.